You ever notice how quick people are to ask, "How are you?" But the moment you actually tell them, the moment you open up and share your struggles, suddenly the air changes, their eyes shift, their attention drifts, and deep down, you can feel it. They didn't really want to know. They weren't ready to carry your pain. And yet we keep doing it. We keep handing out pieces of ourselves, our worries, our problems, hoping someone will care enough to fix it, to understand it, to make it lighter. But here's the truth nobody likes to say out loud. Most people don't care. Some are curious, some are entertained, and a few, let's be honest, are even happy it's happening to you and not them. So ask yourself, what does it really cost you every time you tell people your problems? How much strength are you giving away? How much power are you handing to people who didn't earn it? Because the reality is, the more you talk about your struggles, the less energy you have left to actually overcome them. And what if instead of telling the world your pain, you held it close, transformed it, and came back not with a story of suffering, but with proof of victory? That's the difference between people who stay stuck in their problems and people who rise above them. And today we're going to talk about why silence, discipline, and action will take you further than sympathy ever could. When something goes wrong in our lives, the natural reaction is to look for someone to talk to, someone to unload the weight on. It feels good for a few minutes. You vent. You complain, you explain every detail of how unfair life has been to you, and for a short while, it feels like the burden has shifted. But here's the reality. When you keep broadcasting your pain to the world, you are slowly draining yourself of the very strength you need to fix it. Think about it. Every time you tell 10 different people about your struggles, what do you actually gain? Do you get solutions? Do you get real support? Most of the time, no. What you get is nods, empty words like "I'm so sorry," or maybe advice that isn't helpful. And the worst part, some people don't even care. They just listen because they're curious, because they enjoy the drama, or because they're secretly glad it's you struggling and not them. When you broadcast your pain, you're handing your power to an audience that didn't deserve it in the first place. Pain is not entertainment. But when you spread it to the wrong people, that's exactly what it becomes. People gossip, they twist your story, they tell others. Suddenly your private battles become public knowledge. And while you're busy talking about how much you're suffering, the one thing you're not doing is actually solving the problem. You're exhausting yourself emotionally, replaying the pain over and over, instead of channeling that energy into action. Let me put it this way. When you walk into a room and start complaining about how unfair life is, you're not gaining respect, you're losing it. People may not tell you to your face, but they start to see you differently. They see someone who can't handle pressure. They see someone who can't control their emotions. And in a world where strength is rare, where resilience is admired, you never want to be remembered as the person who crumbles every time life gets hard. The strongest people aren't the ones who never face problems. They're the ones who deal with them quietly, who work in silence and let their results make the noise. You think warriors on a battlefield stand around complaining about how heavy their armor is or how tough the fight looks. No, they endure, they fight, they push forward, because they know talking about the pain doesn't make the enemy go away. Action does. Now, I'm not saying you should bury your emotions or pretend you don't struggle. We all do. But there's a big difference between processing your pain privately and broadcasting it publicly. Processing means you take time alone to reflect, to journal, to meditate, to breathe. Maybe you confide in one trusted person who genuinely wants the best for you. That's healthy. Broadcasting, on the other hand, means you share every detail with anyone who will listen. That's destructive. It keeps you locked in the same cycle of negativity. When you broadcast your pain, you also train your brain to seek validation instead of solutions. You start depending on sympathy to feel better, but sympathy is like sugar. It gives you a quick high, and then you crash, still stuck with the same problems. Solutions are like nutrition. They may take effort, they may not taste sweet right away, but they build you, they strengthen you, they make you capable of facing even greater challenges. Every time you tell the world how unfair life has been to you, you're cementing that identity, the victim. And the more you repeat it, the more you start to believe it yourself. But when you hold it in, when you take that same story and flip it into action, you start becoming the hero of your own life instead of the victim in someone else's story. Let me give you an example. Imagine two people lose their job on the same day. The first one spends the next month telling everyone about how unfair it was, how the boss was cruel, how the company didn't appreciate them. They get sympathy. Sure, but at the end of the month, they're still unemployed, bitter, and exhausted from repeating the same story. The second person, they don't broadcast it. They take a few days to feel the sting. Then they start applying, networking, building new skills. At the end of the same month, they've either landed interviews or maybe even a new job. Same problem, two very different outcomes, because one broadcasted the pain and the other converted it into fuel. So ask yourself, do you want to be known as the person who talks about problems or the person who overcomes them? Because make no mistake, people are watching. They're forming opinions. And the way you handle your struggles will define the level of respect you receive. Stop broadcasting your pain. Let your pain shape you, not shame you. Let it push you, not paralyze you. Every time you want to complain, catch yourself, ask instead, what can I do about this? How do I grow from this? What lesson is this teaching me? Those questions lead to growth. Complaints only lead to more weakness. There's a reason silence is powerful. When you don't broadcast your pain, people wonder. They don't know if you're struggling, if you're planning, if you're rising. That mystery gives you strength. And when you finally emerge, not with a story of suffering, but with results, with transformation, with victory, that's when the world pays attention. So remember this. Your pain doesn't need an audience. It needs discipline. It needs focus. It needs you to carry it quietly while you work, while you fight, while you rise. Stop telling the world how heavy the weight is. Just get stronger, because the only thing that speaks louder than pain is progress. There is a kind of strength that doesn't need applause, doesn't need validation, and doesn't need sympathy. It's the strength that comes from silence. Most people don't realize how much power they give away when they constantly seek comfort in others' sympathy. They think sympathy means connection, understanding, maybe even healing. But what it really does is strip away your edge, your resilience, your ability to stand firm in the middle of chaos. Sympathy is soft. It feels good for a moment, but it never lasts. Silence, on the other hand, is steel. It shapes you. It hardens you. It makes you unshakable. Every time you run to tell someone about your problems in search of comfort, you weaken your ability to sit with discomfort on your own. And here's the reality. Life is uncomfortable. Growth is uncomfortable. Discipline is uncomfortable. If you always need someone else to pat you on the back and tell you it will be okay, you'll never build the toughness required to push through when no one is around. Because trust me, there will be times when you are alone with your struggles, and the only voice you'll have is your own. In those moments, silence becomes your greatest ally. Think about it. How many times have you opened up to someone hoping for compassion and instead walked away feeling worse? They gave you shallow words. Don't worry, it'll all work out. Or maybe they offered advice that had nothing to do with your situation. Or worse, they judged you. You walked away realizing that pouring your heart out didn't actually fix anything. In fact, it left you more exposed. That's what sympathy does. It tempts you with a momentary bandage, but it doesn't heal the wound. Silence, though uncomfortable, forces you to stop looking outward and start looking inward. It pushes you to confront your pain head on. Silence is not weakness, it's restraint, it's discipline. It's you saying, I don't need an audience to validate my struggle. I don't need a crowd to clap for my resilience. I will handle this myself. That doesn't mean you never speak. It doesn't mean you lock everything inside forever, but it means you become selective. You stop pouring your problems into the ears of people who aren't qualified to hold them. You stop chasing sympathy from those who can't or won't help you rise. Let me give you an image. Imagine two boxers. One of them keeps turning to the crowd after every punch, wanting sympathy, wanting cheers, wanting recognition for how hard the fight is. The other doesn't say a word. He takes the hit, resets, and comes back swinging. Which fighter do you respect more? Which one are you betting on? The one asking for pity, or the one who lets his actions speak louder than his pain? That's the difference between a life lived in constant need of sympathy and a life fortified by silence. People often confuse sympathy with love. They think that if someone feels sorry for them, it means they care. But pity is not love. Sympathy is not strength. What people call comfort can actually be a subtle trap that keeps you dependent on external validation instead of building inner resilience. True love doesn't coddle you, it challenges you. True strength doesn't cry out for attention, it grows in quiet spaces. And here's something important. When you choose silence, you protect yourself. The more you tell people about your struggles, the more vulnerable you become to their judgment, their gossip, even their exploitation. Some will pretend to care, but deep down, they'll store that information for later use. Maybe to undermine you, maybe to feel superior, maybe just to have something to whisper about when you're not around. But when you hold your silence, you deny them that power. You keep your struggles as your own, not as someone else's entertainment. Silence doesn't just protect you from others, it also sharpens you. When you don't have sympathy to lean on, you're forced to rely on yourself. You're forced to problem solve, to think critically, to toughen your skin. You start realizing that you can endure far more than you thought. You learn how to sit with the pain, how to manage it, how to rise from it without needing anyone else's reassurance. That's how true confidence is built, not from others telling you it will be okay, but from you proving to yourself that it already is. Most people don't understand this because silence is uncomfortable. It means no one is clapping, no one is wiping your tears, no one is carrying the weight with you. But that's the point. In silence, you carry your own weight, and the heavier it feels, the stronger you become. When you finally come out of that season, people won't see someone who begged for pity. They'll see someone who grew in private and returned unrecognizable in strength. That transformation doesn't happen in constant chatter. It happens in silence. So the next time you feel like broadcasting your pain for sympathy, stop yourself. Ask, what will this give me? Will this person truly help me? Or am I just searching for pity? If the answer is the latter, close your mouth. Sit in silence. Write your thoughts in a journal instead. Go for a walk. Train your mind and body. Do anything that builds you instead of weakening you. Because sympathy is a quick fix, but silence builds a foundation. Sympathy soothes. Silence transforms. There's an old saying, lions don't roar when they're wounded. They lick their wounds in private, and when they're healed, they come back stronger. That's exactly how you should live. Don't roar about your pain to get attention. Heal in silence. Work in silence. Transform in silence. And when you finally return to the world, let your victories speak for themselves. Choosing silence over sympathy doesn't mean you're cold. It doesn't mean you're detached. It means you respect yourself enough not to hand your pain over to people who can't handle it. It means you understand that your healing is your responsibility, not someone else's obligation. And it means you're willing to trade temporary comfort for long-term strength. When you live like this, something changes. People stop seeing you as fragile, and they start seeing you as resilient. They stop underestimating you. They stop prying into your life. They stop waiting for your collapse, because every time life knocks you down, you rise without complaint, without pity, without noise, and nothing commands respect more than quiet, unshakable strength. So remember this. Sympathy may feel good in the moment, but silence will carry you through the storm. Don't run to the world with your pain. Sit with it, own it, master it. And when you're ready, don't tell them how much it hurt. Show them how far you've come. Most people in this world are spectators. They stand on the sidelines, watching your life unfold like a show. But very few will ever step into the ring with you. When you're struggling, when life knocks you down, don't be surprised if the crowd gets louder. But the hands that reach out to help get fewer. That's human nature. People are curious. People are entertained. People love a story. But when it comes to real support, when it comes to action, when it comes to carrying the weight with you, most of them vanish. And the sooner you accept this, the freer you'll be. Because what keeps people trapped in misery is this illusion that others are supposed to care, that others will rush to help, that others are invested in our problems as deeply as we are. But they're not. People are invested in their own lives, their own battles, their own stories. Yours is just background noise to them. That might sound harsh, but it's reality. Think about how people respond when you tell them your struggles. They listen for a while, maybe nod their head, maybe throw out a cliche like stay strong or it'll get better, and then they move on. The conversation ends and you're left exactly where you started with the same problem weighing you down. Nothing changed. Why? Because they were never going to fix it for you. They were only watching. In fact, some people don't just watch. They wait. They wait to see how bad it gets. They wait to see if you'll fall apart. They wait to see if your story gives them something to gossip about. And yes, some even wait to feel a little better about themselves by comparing their life to your pain. That's why telling everyone your problems is dangerous. You think you're sharing for comfort, but what you're really doing is putting on a performance for an audience that doesn't intend to help you. You know who's truly watching? The people who secretly don't want you to win. They won't admit it, but your struggles are entertainment to them. When you talk about how unfair life is, how heavy the burden feels, some people take quiet satisfaction in it. They see your pain as proof that you're not as strong as you pretend to be. That's why the less you reveal, the stronger you remain. Silence denies your spectators their show. Now let's talk about the few who actually care. Yes, there are people who genuinely love you, who want the best for you, who may try to help. But even then, there's a limit. They can listen, they can encourage, they can give advice, but they can't fight your battles. They can't carry your pain. They can't fix your life for you. Only you can do that. Even the people who love you most are still watching at some level, because no one else can live inside your skin and do the work required to turn your life around. So what does this mean for you? It means you need to stop expecting people to help. Stop waiting for someone to swoop in and rescue you. Stop assuming that because people listen, they'll also act. They won't. And that's not a reason to hate them. It's a reason to strengthen yourself. Because once you stop depending on others, you realize the truth. You've had the solution inside you the whole time. You know, think about a fire. If a house is burning and the crowd gathers outside, everyone watches, they point, they comment, they maybe take pictures, but how many actually run in to put out the fire? Almost none. Why? Because it's not their house, it's not their risk, it's not their problem. That's exactly how life works. Your problems are your fire. People will stand around and watch, but they won't step into the flames for you. So stop wasting your breath begging them to grab the hose yourself, put out your own fire. That's how you regain control. And here's the irony. Once you stop expecting help, once you stop complaining to others and start taking action, those same people who once stood back and watched will suddenly admire you. They'll talk about your strength, your resilience, your determination. They'll say, wow, you really handled that well, but where were they when you were in the middle of the storm? They were watching. They always were. This is why it's so important to keep your struggles private. Don't feed the crowd. Don't give them a show. Let them wonder. Let them be curious. Let them question how you keep going when life hits hard. That mystery is powerful because when you don't tell them what's happening, they don't know whether you're struggling or thriving. And then when you finally come out victorious, they're left shocked, asking themselves, how did you do it? That's the kind of respect silence earns. The truth is, you don't need spectators. You need results. You don't need people to clap for your pain. You need progress. And you don't get progress by telling the world how hard it is. You get progress by putting your head down and grinding when no one is watching, by facing your challenges head on without needing a cheerleading squad. So stop giving the world a front row seat to your struggles. Stop expecting people to fix what they didn't break. Stop wasting your energy explaining your pain to people who don't plan on lifting a finger to help. Instead, channel that energy inward. Build yourself. Strengthen yourself. Work in silence. Grow in silence. Rise in silence. And remember this, people will always watch. They'll watch when you fail. They'll watch when you suffer. And they'll watch when you rise. But help? That's rare. That's not guaranteed. And it's not something you should depend on, because the more you accept that most people are just spectators, the more power you reclaim over your own life. At the end of the day, you have two choices. You can perform for the crowd, complaining and venting, hoping for a hand that will never come, or you can step out of the spotlight, do the work in silence, and come back with results that need no explanation. One path leaves you drained and dependent. The other makes you unstoppable. And the choice is yours. Every single problem in your life is raw material. The question is, what are you building with it? Some people take their problems and use them as excuses. They let them weigh them down, define them, and convince them that they can't move forward. But others, those who truly rise, take the exact same problems and turn them into fuel. They treat pain as energy. They turn obstacles into stepping stones. They convert failures into lessons. And that mindset is what separates those who stay stuck from those who break through. The truth is, problems are not going anywhere. Life doesn't hand out free passes. You don't get to live without challenges, setbacks, heartbreaks, or failures. If you're breathing, you're going to face problems. But here's the twist. Problems don't come to stop you. They come to sharpen you. They're the fire that forges strength. And when you stop seeing them as curses and start using them as fuel, everything changes. Think about the moments in your life when you grew the most. Was it when everything was easy, comfortable, smooth? Or was it when you had to fight? When you had to push? When you were forced to adapt? Growth doesn't come from comfort, it comes from conflict. Comfort makes you soft, problems make you strong. The weight of your struggles is the same weight that builds your muscle if you learn how to lift it instead of complaining about it. The difference is perspective. When something goes wrong, you have two options. Option one, complain, blame, and stay stuck. Option two, ask yourself, what can I learn from this? How can I use this to become stronger, wiser, sharper? The first option drains you. The second option fuels you. Let's take failure as an example. Most people fear failure. They treat it like an enemy. But failure is one of the greatest fuels you can have if you know how to use it. Every failure carries a lesson. Every rejection teaches you something. Every disappointment adds a layer of resilience. If you look at failure as a teacher instead of a punishment, suddenly it becomes a resource. And the more you fail, the more equipped you become to succeed. That's why some of the most successful people in the world aren't the ones who avoided problems. They're the ones who faced more problems than anyone else and used every single one as fuel. Let's go deeper. Imagine you're at the gym. You pick up a weight. At first, it feels impossible. Your muscles ache. Your body wants to quit. But if you keep pushing, that same resistance is what builds your strength. Problems work the same way. They're resistance. They're pressure. They're painful, but they're also shaping you into someone tougher, sharper, and more capable. Without resistance, you don't grow. Without problems, you don't evolve. But here's the mistake most people make. They waste their problems. They spend so much time talking about them, complaining about them, reliving them, that they miss the chance to convert them into power. Think of it like firewood. A pile of wood just sitting there is useless, but once you light it, it becomes fire, heat, energy. Your problems are the same. Left unused, they just sit there, heavy and meaningless. But if you ignite them with action, they become the fire that drives you forward. Take heartbreak, for example. You can let it destroy you, keep you bitter, make you give up on trust, or you can let it build you. You can use the pain to rediscover yourself, to strengthen your boundaries, to learn self-respect. That heartbreak can either burn you down or light you up. It's your choice. Or think about financial struggles. You can sit around complaining about how unfair the world is, or you can let the hunger push you. That kind of desperation can drive you to work harder, to think smarter, to take risks you wouldn't take if life was comfortable. Many entrepreneurs started with nothing. Some were broke, homeless, rejected, but instead of seeing poverty as a dead end, they saw it as rocket fuel. They didn't let it stop them. They let it launch them. Turning problems into fuel doesn't mean pretending they don't hurt. Pain is real. Struggles are real. What it means is that you take the hit, you feel it, and then you ask, now what? How do I use this? Instead of letting it paralyze you, you let it propel you. Instead of letting it make you bitter, you let it make you better. And here's the most powerful part. Once you learn to use problems as fuel, you stop fearing them. You stop being fragile. You stop panicking every time life throws something heavy at you. Because deep down, you know you can use this. You can take this pain, this failure, this rejection, and build something out of it. Suddenly, nothing can break you, because even your struggles serve you. People who master this mindset become unstoppable. Why? Because the very things that break others only make them stronger. Where most people see roadblocks, they see raw material. Where most people stop, they accelerate. Where most people complain, they create. So the next time life hands you a problem, don't ask, why me? Ask, what now? Don't say, this is unfair. Say, this is fuel. Don't waste your energy talking about how heavy it is. Pick it up, lift it, use it, because every problem is a chance to build the kind of strength that easy times could never give you. One day you'll look back at the very struggles you thought would break you, and you'll realize they built you. You'll realize that the fire that burned you also forged you. And you'll see that the problems you once hated became the very fuel that pushed you into your destiny. So stop running from problems. Stop complaining about them. Stop wishing them away. Take them, own them, and burn them into fuel. Because the fire that tries to destroy you can also be the fire that drives you to rise higher than you ever imagined. Complaining is the easiest thing in the world. It requires no courage, no effort, no creativity. Anybody can sit down and list everything wrong in their life. Anyone can point fingers, blame circumstances, or tell stories about how unfair the world has been to them. But here's the truth that most people don't want to hear. Complaining doesn't change anything. You can talk about your problems all day, but when the sun sets, they'll still be there. The only thing that changes your life is action. And action only comes when you stop pouring energy into complaints and start pouring energy into solutions. Think about how much time people spend talking about what's wrong, how much time is wasted in conversations about how bad the job is, how unfair the boss is, how expensive life is, how untrustworthy people are. You can lose hours, days, even years of your life repeating the same complaints. But what if all of that energy had gone into finding answers, building strategies, or taking steps forward? Imagine how much progress you could make if you redirected your words into work. Complaints build nothing. Solutions build everything. Here's what most people don't realize. The brain follows where your focus goes. When you complain, you're training your mind to look at what's wrong. You're digging a deeper hole of negativity. The more you complain, the more problems you see, even when they're small. But when you shift into a solution mindset, your brain starts looking for possibilities instead of obstacles. You begin to notice opportunities that were always there, but hidden under your own negativity. That's why solution-oriented people seem lucky. They're not lucky, they're focused. They're not stuck on the problem, they're scanning for the door out. Let's take an example. Imagine two people both lose their jobs. The first person spends weeks complaining. They tell everyone how unfair it was, how cruel the company is, how life is impossible. They repeat their pain like a broken record, hoping someone will sympathize. The second person also feels hurt. But instead of drowning in complaints, they immediately start asking, what can I do now? What skills do I have? Who can I contact? How do I make this work for me instead of against me? Months later, one is still stuck in the same story, while the other has a new opportunity, maybe even a better one. The difference wasn't the problem, it was the response. Complaints keep you powerless. They trap you in victim mode. When you complain, you're essentially saying, this is out of my control, and I can't do anything about it. But that's not true. You always have control over something. Your mindset, your effort, your choices, your response. The problem may not be your fault, but the solution is your responsibility. And the faster you accept that truth, the faster you move forward. Solutions require a different kind of energy. They demand responsibility. They ask you to think, to act, to risk failure. That's why most people avoid them. It's easier to sit back and complain than to step up and solve. But if you want to change your life, you don't get to choose easy. Easy won't save you. Easy won't build you. Easy won't give you the life you dream about. Only solutions will. Let's break it down. Complaints live in the past. They rehash what already happened, what went wrong, what hurt you. But solutions live in the present and the future. They ask, what can I do right now and how will it shape tomorrow? Complaints keep you stuck in a story you can't change. Solutions pull you into a new story you can create. One keeps you as a spectator. The other makes you the author. There's another hidden danger to complaints. They push people away. Think about it. Who do you enjoy being around? Someone who constantly drags the energy down with negativity, or someone who looks at a challenge and says, okay, how do we fix this? People are drawn to problem solvers. They trust them, respect them, and follow them. But complainers, they drain the room. They lose influence. They may get sympathy for a while, but eventually people stop listening. Nobody wants to be around someone who constantly bleeds out their problems, but never takes responsibility for their solutions. On the other hand, becoming a solution-oriented person makes you magnetic. When you're the one who stays calm in chaos, when you're the one who looks for answers Instead of excuses, you become valuable. People look to you for guidance. They trust you with opportunities. They see you as strong because while everyone else is drowning in complaints, you're already swimming toward the shore. But here's the beauty of it. This isn't just about impressing others. It's about building yourself. Every time you choose solutions over complaints, you strengthen your resilience. You teach yourself that no matter what happens, you can figure it out. You stop seeing yourself as a victim of life and start seeing yourself as the driver of your own destiny. That shift alone can change everything. Of course, none of this means you don't feel pain, frustration, or anger. Those emotions are human, but the question is, what do you do after you feel them? Do you camp out in your complaints, or do you get up and start building answers? Feeling negative is normal. Living negative is a choice. The truth is, life is going to hand you problems, whether you like it or not. You can't control that. What you can control is what you do next. You can spend your energy telling the world how heavy the burden is, or you can spend your energy lifting it. One will keep you stuck. The other will make you strong. One will waste your time. The other will change your life. So the next time you feel the urge to complain, pause, ask yourself, is this complaint going to solve anything? If the answer is no, and it almost always is, redirect that energy. Ask instead, what can I do right now that brings me one step closer to a solution? Train your mind to seek answers, and you'll be amazed at how quickly your life begins to shift. Because your power is not in your problems, and it's certainly not in your complaints. Your power is in your solutions. That's where your strength lives. That's where your future is built, and that's where your true freedom begins. Life will always test you. It will hand you problems you didn't ask for, pain you didn't expect, and challenges you don't feel ready for. But every time you face those moments, you're standing at a crossroads. You can choose to complain, to tell the world your problems, to seek sympathy and pity, or you can choose silence, strength, and solutions. You can choose to take that pain and turn it into power, to use it as fuel that pushes you higher, stronger, sharper than before. The truth is, most people are watching, not helping. Most people are curious, not caring. And every time you broadcast your pain, you're giving away your power. But when you hold it close, when you choose discipline over disclosure, when you stop asking why me and start saying watch me, you become unstoppable. Remember this, nobody respects endless complaints, but everybody respects results. Your life will not be defined by the problems you face, but by the way you transform them. Don't waste your story telling people how heavy the burden was. Make them witness how far you carried it. So stop feeding the world your struggles. Show them your strength instead, because the most powerful statement you'll ever make is not in what you say, but in what you survive and what you build. Your problems are not your prison, they're your power. And when you choose solutions over complaints, when you turn silence into strength, when you let your struggles fuel your rise, you don't just change your life, you prove to the world and to yourself that nothing can stop you. That is your real victory.